Yes.
Well, hello and welcome. Today's workshop, we are going to be doing lots of different tumblers. So some of the tumblers you may have seen before and some may be new. We'll be doing a variety of different materials of the tumbler. So I have like some ceramic tumblers here as an example where you can add photos to the tumblers or to the mug. So we're going to do some ceramic. We have some different textures on the steel tumblers, like a glitter style or an iridescent style. We also have some really fun frosted glass to work with. And I think my frosted glass samples are behind me, and some clear glass to work with. Now, I will be working with my Sawgrass printer and sublimation. So if you're new to sublimation, sublimation is where you use a special printer, like the Sawgrass 500, that has sublimation ink in that printer. And this printer is dedicated as a sublimation printer. So it's the only thing I use this printer for is sublimation. And I have the special sublimation ink in here, which is printed on sublimation paper. And then the blanks I use are specifically primed for sublimation. So in the sublimation process, what happens is when you use sublimation ink and put it on the paper, and then when that ink touches your blank, the blank has to be have like a polyester coating on it if you're using something that is a hard surface like a ceramic or a steel, or it has to be 100% polyester t-shirt material. So you have to have your material be 100% polyester. Then you're using a heat source, like you might use a convection oven or a mug press. We're going to use both today. And you release the ink from the paper when it's heated. So during the heating process is when that transfer happens. So having your knowing your material, what settings you need to have your presses on is all really important, and it's all the items that make up the recipe. So how do you use the Sawgrass printer? Well, you can print directly to the Sawgrass printer. Actually, sorry, not the Sawgrass printer. It does print directly to the Sawgrass printer, but let me back up just one step. With your Sawgrass, you have two software pieces. One is DesignMate, and DesignMate is where you can design your blanks. So there are templates in there for different mugs and different tumblers, t-shirts, all kinds of items. And you do the designing in there. And then you send your design to PrintMate. And PrintMate communicates with your printer, and it helps you get all the right settings for when you're printing. Now, if you use a different program, like let's say you want to do a print then cut with your Cricut or your Silhouette, well, you can do that. You just would send it to your sublimation printer instead of your regular printer. So you can send other items through the PrintMate to print through your sublimation printer. So you don't have to use DesignMate. You can use other software programs, or if you design using, say, Adobe or something like that, you can use that too. So if you have, I know it's a lot of information if you're just new to sublimation. If you have questions, please do feel free to drop those in the Q&A, and we can always go back. We'll have a little bit of time as we work through the items. So let me grab my first project I have here. Now, this design I created using a program called Canva. And if you're not familiar with Canva, it's just a program that you can use to design things with. So I created this design in Canva, and then I printed it to my Sawgrass printer as a PNG. So I have this little the fourth of the stackles. Unfortunately, I broke one of my family's mugs here, so I have to do a new one for my stack. So I have this design here that I've printed out. Now, with the Sawgrass printer, when it prints, it does look lighter. This is going to be a really bright, vibrant turquoise color, but when it prints a lot lighter than actually the image transfers to. So when it prints out, don't panic if it's a bit lighter than you expect it to be. It'll be fine. So I'll be using, let me slide these out of the way here. I'll be using for this project the Craft Express mug press. So you may have seen, maybe you use the Cricut mug press. You can absolutely use that one with this too. These are actually Cricut mugs that I'm using. So you can use your Cricut mug with your Cricut mug press or the Craft Express mug press. And you can also do this in the convection oven. But if you do a lot of mugs, or you want to do mugs on the go, this is a great little tool to use. So I'm going to go to my overhead if I can, and we'll let this kind of start to heat up a bit. All right, let me just turn that on. Okay, so while that's heating up, let's talk about our mug. To get your mug prepared, so this mug is a polyester mug, and it has that, not a polyester mug, I'm sorry, it has the sublimation coating. So it's ready to accept the sublimation print. Now, what I need to do first is clean this mug off. And I'm using just plain alcohol to do that. So I have this little lint-free cloth that I'll use, and I've got another one to use to actually clean this off. So I'm just going to spritz this with a little bit of alcohol, and you want to start with a very clean surface. The reason we're going to start with a clean surface is any grease or hair or anything like that, if you had dirty fingers and your fingers got on your blank, any kind of grease on your fingers or your blank will prevent the design from transferring. So anything that gets between the transfer and your blank will prevent that color from transferring over. So we want to make sure that you start off with clean hands and you give your tumblers and such a really good cleaning. So I'm just going to use the alcohol wipes. Now you can also run over it once you've cleaned it. You can just use a lint roller and get off any extra lint that may be on there. So once you've got your blank ready to go, you're going to grab your printout. Now, for this printout, I think it's 8.75 inches by 2.89 inches tall. And you'll notice that the design is backwards. And that's because you mirror your design. So you want to put your design on in a mirrored position. So it'll appear like it's backwards, but it's really not. I mean, it will be once it transfers. It really is backwards. And then when you transfer it, it will appear normal. So I'm just removing any extra white here. So you can keep that on the top if you want to, but we can take it off the rest of our design here. Okay, my little guy just blinked at me and said, I'm ready. So as you can see, I've got the bottom of my design here and the top is right there. So we are going to wrap the mug using this design. So what you want to do is, I always like to start with it upside down. And I'm just going to double check my height. Yep, so let's trim that off. So I like to do it upside down because it just kind of holds a little easier. All right. So I'm going to take my design and wrap it around my mug. So first of all, I'm going to make sure I have the top of my design lined up with the top of my mug, and you can kind of see the center of it. Now, this one does have a little space between the handle here. So my wrap won't go all the way around. I will have a little bit of white space there, and I'm okay with that. If you really have to use your Cricut and cut it out if you want to get it to go around here. I was okay with having a little bit of white space there. So once you know about where the center is, and you can just line that up and make sure you have the same space on either side of your mug. And I said, it looks like my hands are dirty. I've been painting our cabinets, and I was painting this morning. So I have a little bit of paint on my finger. So I am sorry. It is paint and haven't been in the garden today. It's paint. Okay, so I'm using heat resistant tape to tape this down. So we're just going to put that heat resistant tape on one side and grab the other side and really give it a nice tug, and then make sure it lines up. When you're working with your tumblers, tape is your best friend. I always say you can never use too much tape. So we're going to just make sure that that is sealed nice and tight there. And then we're going to come over and make sure this is the same way, that it's sealed on both ends. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my bigger tape here, my longer tape, and I'm going to run this around the top rim and the bottom rim. Now, the reason you want to make sure you tape it on and tape it on nice and tightly is so that you don't have any space in between your paper and your blank. So you want any space to be kind of sealed up. So that's why we tape it. And the reason you do that is if there's loose space, it won't hold that, the design won't transfer. So if there's any space between your design and your blank template, that design won't transfer. Okay, so let's do the same thing on the bottom here. A smaller rim, but do the same thing right here. Now, once I've got this done, I'm going to use some extra parchment paper between, so I'll wrap my mug with parchment paper. And I do that so that if any ink transferred in the reverse, so if it came out of the other side of my mug design, like if it came out here, it wouldn't transfer to my press, because I want to make sure I keep my press nice and clean so it doesn't transfer onto something else later. So I've got everything is all nice and worked up there. Okay, so I've got everything taped on. It's nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. Now I'm just going to put that. I'll wrap it in this little parchment butcher paper. I'll fold the side, and I'm just going to tuck in the top there. Now, when I put it into the mug press, I want to make sure that my paper there holds on. So let's grab our mug press and bring it over so you can see. So if I take my mug press, I'm just going to slide that in. So it goes in all the way. In the handle, you kind of can hold the handle and then it automatically closes for you. So once it senses that it's in there, it's going to close for you, and then it's going to count down. So it will, it's going to count down for you. I've got it at temperature is 356. You can make it higher if you need to, but 356 should do it. And it should take about 3 to 4 minutes to do this. And it will automatically, once it's done, it will release it and we'll remove it and begin to remove all the tape. Okay, so while that is working, let's talk about another type of tumbler that we're going to use. I'm going to grab this. So I have another mug here ready to go, and this is just a glass mug. Now the glass mugs do transfer a bit lighter. The image will transfer just a bit lighter than your other types of tumblers, like if you use a white tumbler. So kind of keep that in mind. But I thought for this one, it would be super fun to use a full color design. So this one's created, it's just a little pencil design that I did in the PrintMate software, in the DesignMate software. And I can show you guys that, how I pulled that together. But while we're waiting on this to go, I think I'm just going to get this one set up. So again, I use my alcohol spray. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to apply the design the same way, but it's too big to fit in the mug press. So for this one, I need to take this one to my convection oven. So that's the one we'll use for this big one. And the convection oven, instead of wrapping it in parchment paper, we will wrap it with a shrink wrap. So if you want to watch any of the classes that have been done by Michael's in the future, like if you want to watch this one or any of the other classes, we have done quite a few Sawgrass classes. They're on the Michael's YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, Misty, and type in Michael's, that's where you'll find all of the videos. All right, so I've got this one nice and cleaned up. It's ready to go. And let's trim down the design here. So this is the sleeve I'll use to wrap it when it goes into the sublimation printer, into the convection oven. Now, your convection ovens, let me just talk about that for a second, because your convection ovens, you want to make sure that if you're using a convection oven, it is only used for your sublimations. You can't use a convection oven and then cook a meal in it, because you release chemicals from the convection oven, and you just don't want to have this. You can't use the same oven for cooking and little paper trimmer. You can't use the same oven for cooking and sublimation. Okay, that kind of tore that up a little bit. So let's see. Now this one, I will do the taping of it. Again, tape is your best friend. You can never go wrong with your tape. So tape is your best friend. We're going to just use that tape on here again. And you can see the name is mirrored. So that's great. And I'm just going to turn it upside down one more time and kind of line this up. Now, this design, I didn't put the name in the center. It's a little bit off to one side. So I'm going to make sure that I line up my handles, my design on each edge of my handle. Let's see. Yeah, this is right. Okay, so we'll just line this up on this side again. And that little notch there, it may just kind of have a little ding on that. Just so you know, I'm aware of that. And normally I would reprint it. If I were gifting this to somebody or making it to sell, I would just reprint that and make sure I didn't have that little notch there. Okay, so we're good in the middle. So again, oh, did you hear that? There's our other machine. So let's pull that out. I'll set that aside for just 1 second. I'm going to put on my handle, my mug here, my, what do you call this? My mitt. And we're going to take that off. Woo, it is steaming hot. So you can let this cool for a little bit. You don't have to start right away removing your tape and things, but you do want to remove your tape relatively quickly, because after it starts to cool, the tape will start to harden and it makes it a little bit harder to get it off. So I do kind of try, and I'll start taking it off almost, as soon as I can touch it. I do use my little mitt here to do this with. All right, now one thing when you're removing your tape and things, you can use your weeding tool or tweezers or something like that that's a sharp, pointy bit, but you want to make sure not to scrape your design, because I have scraped a mug before where the design was, and it ultimately scraped the design on the mug, which is kind of a bummer. So just kind of keep that as like a little food for thought there. The other thing is just another little downside to using the mug press is you can have a little bit of feathering here on the edge where your design was. But now look at the difference there. So this is what it started with, and this is how it ended. The color, see the difference in the color? Yes, I'm sorry, was I not in the middle there? See that difference in the color, how pretty that is? All right, so I'm going to put that on my heating pad and let that continue to cool. And we are going to wrap this other one up. There's a lot of different tools that I use, but you can choose which tools work for you. So if you want to use the mug press, it is great, and it allows you to do a variety of different size mugs, but you are limited to, what you can make with it. If you use the convection oven, you have a lot more choice. in what you can make, because you can use a bigger variety of sizes. Basically, as long as it fits in the convection oven and you can have shrink wrap around it, you're good to go. Now, sometimes I do put, I will put butcher paper in between my shrink wrap and my design, but I kind of find that's overkill if you are going to take the shrink wrap off right away. So I'm doing the same thing. Now, this is a glass tumbler, and you're going to see the difference on how the design shows up on, say, a glass tumbler versus a ceramic white tumbler. So it's going to be a little bit lighter in result. So I think that's going to be kind of fun to see. So you're just going to use your tape, wrapping around. You can do little pieces of tape, but honestly, if you can get it in one big piece like this, it does tend to make it easier to take the tape off as you're removing it from the design. So, and if at any point in time, just a little troubleshooting, if your paper were to stick to your design, I did that upside down. Did I do it upside down? No, I didn't. Okay, I thought for a minute my erasers were at the top. But if for any reason the shrink wrap we're going to put on it were to stick on your design, you could you can use like water, like a little warm sudsy water will remove that right from your design. Okay, so I had to grab our heat gun. So once you've got this wrapped on there, we're going to use this shrink wrap sleeve. And sometimes when you purchase tumblers or such, the sleeve will come with it. Other times you have to purchase it separately. So it just depends on what what it is, where you get it from, and what size it is, if it's intended to be in your convection oven or your mug press. Usually with mug press mugs, you won't have to use a sleeve like this, so you won't have that. So if it fits in a mug press, it usually won't come with a sleeve. But we're going to use this one. Let me plug in my gun here. Okay, ready? So we're just going to heat this up, and it's going to shrink around the mug. So I'm going to start kind of in the middle, and I'm going to move this around so that it doesn't damage the shrink at all. I just kind of keep moving it. Okay, so I've got my handle, and now I'm going to start working it around the bottom. And it'll all kind of come together. And we're going to work out any wrinkles there on the bottom. And then same thing on the top here. I'm just moving everything around. So one thing when I'm doing this, I'm looking to make sure that there's no wrinkles around here, like the extra material. Around the handle, it doesn't shrink in super tight. So it doesn't really hold around that handle. So you could get a little bit of that ghosting too. That's why you want to do that taping on the handle really nicely. Okay, so I'm just going to bring that as close to the handle as I can. Now let me, let's go, I'm going to turn over here to our sublimation convection oven. So I want to have it at, let's turn it on. It's going to be at let me just double check my 356 for 9 minutes. So I have it at 379. I can just turn my temperature down to, there we go, there's the top one. And let me do the bottom one. There we go. And then my timer is going to be at 9 minutes. So I turn it on, and what's going to happen is this is going to heat up. And once it's done heating up, it'll blink. And then I'll have to turn around and put the mug in it right away. Because once it bings at me or dings at me and tells me, okay, we're heating up, I want to make sure I get my item in there, because it automatically, once it's hot enough, it will start timing down. So you want to get that in there right as you can. So along with that, I have this glass tumbler. This is a really pretty iridescent glass tumbler. I thought maybe we could do this one next and wrap this one and put this one in the oven. And you'll kind of get the difference because oh wait, I didn't want to do it with the glass tumbler. Sorry. I wanted it to do it with this tumbler. This is a new tumbler. It's a MakeMarker glass tumbler, and it has like, the color gradient on it. So it's really pretty, and it does tell you how to heat it. So you heat it at 356 degrees for 8 minutes. So I could, if we get this wrapped up in time, I could pop this in there with that one. But we'll see if I get it wrapped up in time. Now, the difference with something like this, I find with like the frosted glasses, using solid colors gives you like a really great result. It's nice to see too, this one here, has like the iridescent in it, but it's iridescent white. So it really helps the image pop off a bit. I'm curious to see how, I haven't used this one yet, but I'm curious to see how this one works. So we're just going to remove the straw and the top. And again, we'll have to clean this off. So let me set our things aside, our items aside here. Bring over our rags, and we'll just give this one a nice little clean here. Now, again, another fun place to get images is a website called Creative Fabrica, and you can get a lot of images in there. They do have, and the Sawgrass, the great thing about using the images in the Sawgrass Design Mate is if you use images from there and you want to sell your items, they are all, they've worked out all the copyright and everything. So whenever you create using the Sawgrass images, you can resell those items. Okay, so once I've got this cleaned off, let me, I'm going to come back. Now this one, we don't have to, you don't have to tape it. I'm not going to do a whole design around it. I just have these two designs here. And for these two designs, I'm going to do something called feathering. So I'm going to tear them out and feather the paper. So the reason I'm doing this is so that I don't have a harsh edge around the design. So we're just going to kind of feather this out like this. The harsh edge can come across in your design. So by feathering it like this, it kind of, it gives you a looser edge. And then we're going to place these onto the tumbler. So with our tumbler here, I can place one right in the center. An idea of where that's going to go. Let me feather this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're just going to put that one right there on one side. And again, I will use my tape on all sides of this because I do want to make sure that it's taped down. We will use we'll use the same shrink wrap on it. But again, I want to make sure that I've got it taped all the way around. So we just use, now this tape I'm using is a special tape. It's not special for sublimation, but it is special for heat. So you can't just use, a Scotch tape or something like that. You need to have tape that is heat resistant. And so this tape that I'm using here is a heat resistant tape. So we're going to put that on there. Make sure that's all covered up. Okay, and then I'll just do another one on the other side. So I'm thinking I kind of want to move this one down a little bit more into the purple. So we can have one up higher and one down lower, just so we can see what it's going to look like. What do you guys think? I'm looking inside to get it lined up on there. So normally you'd probably put them both on opposite sides, you know, at the same height. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they transfer with down further into the purple. I think we may hit it. Now, the only thing is I do worry a little bit because I'm using a lot of heat. Okay, so there we go. It just beat. Felicia, can you switch back over to my front facing real quick? So it just beat, and you can see it already started timing down. I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in. Whew, didn't want that to go. So now I can go in and flip it halfway through, or I'm gonna just get it so it's upright and it will heat it all the way around. So that'll just heat it right up and we'll be ready to go when that's done. Now we'll go here like this. All right, so again, I've got that all taped on there. I just realized I take this one upside down. In my decision making, this one went upside down. So let me flip that one around. Good thing I peeked. All right. Science is magical. So that's going to go in here. This is for my daughter. She's going to school. So it's fun to make designs for family members, just for fun. She's studying marine biology. So I thought this would be a cute little design for her. Science is magical. Oops. I'm just going to put that right down there. Now this is okay. The design isn't down here. The design is up here. So those wrinkles are not going to affect the design. But if you had a design, like my design went down to where those wrinkles were, it would impact, obviously, the result of my design. So I want to make sure that where my design is, it goes on nice and smoothly. And then again, I just can take my little sleeve here. We're going to put that in. This one's already a little bit tight. Nice. All right. So here we go with that. And then again, I'm just going to take my gun here and I'll just heat that up. All right, this is looking nice. It's nice and firm there, getting out all those wrinkles that I can. Go around the top there. So again, you want to remove those wrinkles so that your design will stay right in there. I want to get the top here so that I can set it in like this. So I want that top to be flat as possible. Just tuck that in and do one more little squirt around it. There we go. So now I'll be able to tuck that into the oven upside down like that. Okay, so that one's done. Now, as soon as I'll put that one in. But let's talk about doing a mug like this one here. This is a glitter mug. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna hold off on this. Let me grab a tumbler. Let me just grab this little tumbler here. This is a skinny tumbler. So let's go into, I'm going to share my screen. And well, hold on. Before I do that, I want to measure this tumbler so that we know we're going to use the right measurements. So in Sawgrass, they have a ton of templates for different products that you can use. Sometimes, they're not all consistent. So like what one manufacturer may say as a 12-ounce tumbler may not be the same height or width of another tumbler. So you want to make sure that you are measuring your tumbler so you have the right dimensions here. So I'm just going to take the top of my ruler and I'm going to measure my height of my tumbler. So this is 8 inches. And then if I go around my tumbler, this is 8 inches by just about 9.5. So I'm going to look for something that's maybe 8 inches by 9.25, 9 3/4. So let's go into, I'm going to share my screen here. There's my Canva design. Let's go into over here to Sawgrass. Okay. So when I come into the Sawgrass website, I have all these different choices. This little skinny tumbler here, I can see the size of it. So the print size is going to be 9 3/4, 9.37, so 9 3/4 by 7.95 inches tall. My height was just 8 inches. So I think 7.95 would probably do it. And let's see, I need 9 and 0.37. So I think that would do it just tight enough. So let's go ahead and use this design here. So I'm going to use the use this. Now, what's great about the templates is that they have like the spacing already set out for you. So I could grab a background design, and there's some really fun ones if anybody's interested in like the Olympics designs. There's some really cute patterns for Olympics. So we can just scroll down and find like a USA design. Let's see. Maybe we want like that design. And we'll throw that into the pattern. Now, if that repeat is a little bit too big, you can make it a bigger size like that if it was too small. So you can go a little bit bigger if you wanted to, about like that. So let's go ahead and use that design. So we'll say we're done. And then what I like to do is if I'm going to do a wrap, if I do an all over design like this, I can add an element in the center, but sometimes it's fun to do just something up the side of your design. So I'm going to add a white box here. Let's go ahead and add white. So let's add the white there. And I don't think I want to have a stroke. So I'm going to take that stroke off. So I'll just have the white there, and then we can add a name. So let's just go into fonts and we'll grab a name. So we'll give this one to Harris, and you can choose which style font you want to have. Let's get this rotated like this, because we're going to put that in that white space here. So you've got lots of font choices. You can choose your own fonts, or you can use the fonts that Sawgrass provides for you. It's just something nice and tall. Maybe this will be a good one. Okay, and then if you want to edit your name, you can edit the name like that, and we can make it bigger. And then we can also change the color. So let's get that nice and big there. And we can change the color. Now, a lot of times I like to find the color that matches with the print I'm using. So I have this little web picker. So I can just pick a color from my page here usually. Let's grab one. The white one. I'm going to grab the blue. Oh, should we make a red? Let's do a little red. Cool. There we go. Okay, so we'll do red. Then I just find out what that number is, and I copy that over so that on this page here, I can just come to the fill color and change up that fill color there. We're going to enter that color. There we go. And if I wanted to add an outline, I could certainly add an outline or just be done with that, which is nice. I like that. Are we straight there? I think so. Should we add, you can add another little color if you wanted to, like if you wanted to add another little strip, you could add another shape. Let's get that off there, that off. Okay, let's add another little shape here. Just a little strip on the edge. Maybe like that. And again, you can change the color of that if you want to. And have no stroke. So it'll just be like a nice little red piece here. Whatever colors you like. So once you're done designing, then you would print this out. So we just go to the save and print. And you give it a name, USA, Paris. So what then happens is you can save your design and you can go back and reprint it as many times as you'd like to. Oops. Let's get that. While that's saving, let's just take a minute and we can go back to, let's share. Oh, I'm going to stop that for just a second. So there we go. All right. So let me go back here and we will grab our tumbler, our mug, and I can put the next design in with this one. So with this one, I just need to do 8 minutes on it. That. We'll let it heat up again. When it beeps at me, we'll throw this one in. Okay. And let me just make sure, I'll share my screen again. So this has popped up. Oops, am I not sharing my screen? Sorry, guys. Where is, okay. And I lost my Zoom for a minute. Share screen here. We'll go into print mate. So this is almost done. So it's saved the design. And now I'm ready to print it. Now I can also post it for sale using through the Sawgrass. I can't think of the name of it right now, but there is a way that you can post this for sale, have a little store, and you can sell your items in their store. Oh, Cassandra, I'll have to look at that name. It is a great, Cassandra's asking, what is the name of the color picker? It's a Google like attachment. I don't know what they're called, but it's a great, it's a website and it has that little color picker. I use it all the time. All right, so we're just going to take this right off. Now, sometimes you may have a little bit of trouble getting your shrink wrap smoothly to come off, but we're going to get it here. And by smoothly, I mean because it does come apart a bit as you're taking it off. So I'm able to unwrap it here. Kind of nice. This is very hot. Normally, you might want to let it sit for a minute or so, or use gloves on both hands. Okay, and then this is the fun part, the reveal. All right, I just heard my beeper go off. You don't have to change cameras. I'm going to just put that other one in so we can get that one going. All right, come back here and we'll keep doing the reveal. Now you do get a little bit of a smell. You can get a little bit of a smell in your workspace. Okay, this is very light. Not sure why this came out so light. Wow, this really turned off very, very light. I wonder if I put liquid in it. I can see the yellow, but maybe yellow wasn't the right choice here because it is very light overall. You can see how light that is. So like I said, it does come out lighter on this. I probably should have used, maybe this one would have been a better comparison compared to the white. And I know this is like, this one came out really pretty, but it was meant to be light. I wanted this one to be a bright yellow. So I would say this one was a fail. It may be I needed to leave it in longer at a higher temperature, or I needed to use a pattern with more color on it. So you'll get to see how on the tumbler, using a pattern with a lot of color will pop it. So let's share the screen again. Printmate. Okay, so here is our design. And all I need to do is I want to indicate what I am printing it on. So you just come down to print settings. And for this one, this is going to go onto a steel tumbler. Like a metal tumbler. Where is it? Stainless steel. There we go. So it's going into a stainless steel, and I want it to be mirrored. And we're going to do the color management. I want the color to be vibrant. Then I'm just going to go ahead and click the print, and it's going to print this right out for me. And we'll be able to wrap that on our design. I wish I had more time to do this, because I love these clear mugs are very fun to work with. Yeah, let's see how it came out. Someone suggested put a white piece of paper in there. So can you see, like, you can see the little pencil tip there, a little bit of the eraser down at the bottom, and you do get the yellow. That was a good suggestion. Thank you, Marilyn. So you do get that color. It's just not as bright as I was hoping it would be, as it would turn out. Okay, so I've got my printout. Let's set that one aside and grab this guy here. So this one will also go into the convection oven, but it's a steel tumbler. So I gotta double check my settings on it, make sure I do it the right settings. And we're just gonna give this a good wipe down here. You always want to remember to take off the plastic top and your straw, because you do not want to leave that in there. That is definitely yikes, so Mike, you don't want to do that. So let's just get that clean. All right, and then we have our tumbler. Now I'm just going to double check that it's going to wrap around. So if I start it here and it's going to wrap around. Yes, it does. Now, if my design had a repeat on it, or I wanted the design to go touch the edge here and not go white to white, I would put a piece of the tape, the heat resistant tape, on the end of the design, so that the design from one page didn't bleed through on the other page. Oops. Oh, I just cut that crooked. If that makes sense. So when you have your design, if it overlaps, if the two designs overlap onto each other, you will see the one design can bleed through onto the other design. So we kind of want to not allow that to happen. So we're just gonna, that's why I gave it a white space on one side and the pattern on the other. I don't have to worry about matching the designs, because this will just match up to the white here. So I can just put that on. Let's see, I'm trying to think, I think we want Harris at the top. Harris at the top there. So I can just wrap this on. So this one will go first, and then I'll wrap this around to match it up. Now I could trim it down and have it really match up and be really tight, but I'm going to kind of give myself a little bit of the grace and go easy and just wrap it and have it match up this way. So do you see what I'm saying? Like I don't have to worry about my pattern matching up on the end there. So all the way to the top though. Should we have that there? Okay. So once I know those are going to overlap and I know that my Harris is going to be showing, I can put those on. Let's just see what happens, how close these are. I did have a little extra print off on one side, but we can, there we go. All right. I'm just thinking it might be better to show you how it doesn't touch. I like the name to read like that. Okay, so when I wrap it on, as I wrap it around, you'll see that it doesn't touch. There's a gap there, and that's okay. So here's the top of my design. I want to make sure my USA is coming up straight. And I'm just going to wrap it like that. Again, I'm not going to worry that it's not touching because I have that white space at the end of the Harris design. What I am going to worry about is I don't want to overlap my tape into the other side yet. So I'm just going to do just a little bitty bit there and make sure that it doesn't interfere with my design. And if it does, we're just going to go back and do just a little smidgy there like that. Okay, so see now that's not coming into my design. We're just going to wrap that around. Make sure we're wrapped, meeting at the top and not crooked or anything. That's always the challenge sometimes, is making sure that you stay close to the top and you have a solid straight line and your design doesn't go crooked. All right, there we go. Now, if you were matching these up and you had some overlap from one side to the other, that is okay. What I would recommend doing is on one side where it doesn't overlap, I would, on the bottom layer, I would put a piece of tape along the edge so that when it overlapped, this side wouldn't bleed through when you heat it to the other side. Okay, so there we go there. And then we're going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're just going to grab a piece of long tape, a nice long piece, and we're going to wrap around the top and seal it up. And then get another little piece there. Now we may not have time for this to go the whole, our whole time, but we're going to give it a shot. There we go. All right, so now I've got my tape is on the top and the bottom. I just need my shrink wrap sleeve. And these come in, the shrink wrap sleeves, I think I mentioned, come in a variety of different sizes. Now there's a lot of different styles of the skinnies. Sorry, I don't want to talk over this. All right, so that's not as wrinkle free as I would like it, but I'm gonna also want to point out to you guys on the labels, they do tell you your heat instructions. So this is set to 356 for 6 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna pull out my other design. That one's ready to come out, and we'll put this one in. All right, so we got this one coming out. This one will go in a second. As soon as it beeps and tells me it's ready to go. So let's just take this one off. I need my little hot gloves. And I'm excited to see how this one turned out. Like I mentioned, I haven't used these new, I think these are like brand new. I just saw them in our store this weekend. So I kind of added that into this class. But the glass tends to hold its heat longer than the steel. I don't know why it feels that way to me. It just does. And this is where you just have to work your shrink wrap off your design. So we're just going to pop this down. So again, I'm putting it where I have paper. I'm poking it in there because I don't want to scratch my glass. So where I don't really have a design per se, and pop that right in there. And you can use scissors if you have scissors handy. Let's grab some scissors. We can use some scissors and trim this up. So if you happen to be doing, like, if you're thinking about doing a craft market or something this this fall, some fun things to do are having little charms that you can add to your tumblers at your booth space. So like if you were to do some on-demand designs, you could have little charms that people could add to their tumbler. So while their glass or tumbler were to be heating up, they could continue to shop in your space. You can say, I can do that. It'll only take about 10 minutes, but they can either continue shopping around the market, or they could continue shopping in your space. So if you had some items that they could come in and purchase that would go with what they're getting, like their tumbler, that would be a super fun way to add some extra, incentive to purchase in your space, in your craft space. And the customization is great. Like if you have a local PTA that you work with, to do this at a school event, look at how beautiful that is. If you have the ability to do this at a school event, for like if you have a mad science program or whatever, you could do something like that at a school event. If you have a play, you could do something at the play and maybe take orders during intermission, and then they could pick them up at the end. Anything, you can really think outside the box on where you market if you have a side hustle. If not, these are great gifts because you can really tailor them, a mug, a tumbler, to something specific for that person, what they're interested in. Okay, so let's see how to make a difference going deeper into the purple. This one is the one that was up higher, which is normally where I would place the design, a little bit up higher. And then this is the lower one into the purple. And I do not see a difference in the design in the purple area versus up into the clearer area. So I love how that turned out. Just to give it like a little comparison, this is the white iridescent design. Similar tumbler, similar style. This just has the white iridescent. Granted, this is colored, but the black turns out so beautiful. And you can add a photo if you wanted to. Again, I think it would turn out better on the white, a photo, than on the black, but the black on the black looks really pretty. As we were talking about our tumblers too, this is a glitter tumbler, like the one I've got cooking for us. Oh, no, it's not cooking for us. I'm waiting for it to cook. But this has this theme I don't know if you can see, but this is where my pattern matched up, but it doesn't overlap and shadow because I use that technique of using my heat resistant tape right here to prevent that overlapping and shadowing. Excuse me, another quick tumbler I wanted to show you all. I have two more here, so let me just grab these. I had the tumbler with the USA on it that I made, and I had it right. I'm looking around for it. I thought I had it right here to share with you guys. Get this stuff out of our way. I hope nobody shows my floor at the end of my workshops. But just another fun idea is if you think about like mugs during the holidays or something, this was a really cute design that was available in the Sawgrass Design Mate software. And then I added a recipe for a peanut butter toddy. And this uses the Screwball whiskey. But it's really fun because if you need a summer drink, or maybe you have a favorite drink and somebody doesn't know how to make it, with a recipe on the back of it, a family recipe or your favorite recipe, this is like one of our favorite mugs that we use all the time. And then this is also another tumbler that I found this online, and it actually has a speaker, a Bluetooth speaker in the bottom of the tumbler. So you can take the tumbler out, put your drink in there, your straw, and then it has the speaker on the bottom of it. So that was a really fun one. I'm going to throw this one in, Felicia, but I have this exact design done, and I had it in my hand to show everybody, and I'm not sure where I put it. Let me just sneak over here. If I can't find it, I'll have to post it online. So I give everybody some incentive to follow me online. You can find me, I can't find it. I'm so sorry. It's the cutest. It looks so cute with the USA and the name up the side. Do you guys see it somewhere? But if you want to see other projects we've made with the Sawgrass in our Michael's workshops, you can follow me on Instagram. If you create something using your Sawgrass printer from this class, if this class inspired you, please do post it on Instagram and tag Learn with Michaels. I hope you guys get a chance to join us in another workshop. I'm just going to hang out for a couple extra minutes. If there were any questions that anybody had about using your Sawgrass printer with your tumblers and the different things you need. I used the mug press from Craft Express today to do this mug, and you can use your Cricut mug press as well. And if you have infusible ink sheets from Cricut, it's the same process. So you would just cut out your infusible ink sheets, but it's basically the same process. We did a variety of different tumblers. I showed you how to create it so that you can add a name with a repeat or without a repeat. We have our fun little, this one had worked out better. I may try and work on this one and see if I can get a better design and share that on Instagram. But I loved how this one turned out too. It just seems so magical to work with. And I think that's everything we did today. All right. I don't know what I did with it. But one other thing to point out is don't be afraid to try different shapes of tumblers. Like the angled shapes like this are really fun to do. And then again, add photos to your tumblers. So you really get it custom and really make it personalized. But thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, Felicia, for hosting us today. I hope everyone has a fabulous week.